OKC advanced to the Western Conference Finals after beating Denver in Game 7, in this Game 7 really wasn't really a game. Because when you look at it, OKC really put belt to ass from, I ain't gonna say from start to finish, but from the second quarter, from like the last 2 minutes of the second quarter on, once the OKC got up 14 points going into halftime, they never really looked back. And, I want to say congratulations to them. They earned it. They showed they was the better team. And that's one thing about an NBA playoff series, because you got to beat a team four times out of 7 games. And that shows, if you can beat somebody 4 times out of a 7-game series, that shows who's the better team. Regardless of, they want to throw in asterisks of this player being hurt, this player being hurt. You still got to go out there and compete. You can't control who get hurt and who not. All you control is that whoever ready to tip ball, whoever ready to play, you got to go out there and handle your business. And that's what the OKC Thunder did today. Which Jalen Williams, he had a good bounce back game today. 24 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 10 and 17 from the field. After that horrendous Game 6 performance that he put up in Denver, we was question marks on his name, wondering what Jalen Williams gonna look like in this Game 7, knowing that he haven't been here before, with all the marbles being on the table and on the line right now. Just a lot of question marks. Was he gonna be able to bounce back and answer the bell, answer the call tonight for the OKC Thunder? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he did what MVP players, type caliber players do. 35 points tonight. Shot efficiently well from the field today. OKC, and they put it on them defensively. They've been one of the better defensive teams all season long, and you see it. You trade for Alex Caruso. You see why they traded him. You bring in a veteran guy with championship pedigree, championship DNA, and you bring somebody who can be as scrappy as he can on the perimeter, on the defensive side of the ball, and wreak all kind of havoc. That man was putting Nikola Jokic and all type and making Nikola Jokic have all type of fits. Alex Caruso, I really want to say he was low key the MVP for the OKC Thunder tonight. Because if you want to look at it, Jalen Williams didn't really have it going. Chet Holmgren was up and down. Really his impact really wasn't as felt as everybody else. But you look at Caruso, who really was an even kill throughout this whole series. Obviously Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he was probably like the main player, like the main positive thing that you could take from game in to game out. We knew what it was gonna get from Shai, but from everybody else, you really didn't know. But I knew that the one thing that remained the same outside of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was that Alex Caruso, he was going to be right alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, ready to go to war. He had his hard boots on. He had his military vest on, bulletproof vest, and he went to war right along with Shai. And, a lot of these games, I want to say Alex Caruso helped him win about 2-3 games in this series by itself. Obviously, like I said, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he did what he's supposed to do as him being the leader of this team and him being the head of the snake. But that's what you expect from being your best player. But in the same breath, you still need somebody to come along with you. And who came along for the ride and who was always ready to go to war right there with him was Alex Caruso. Whether that was defensively rebounding the ball, knocking down threes when everybody else didn't have the three-point shot going, giving them some type of different looks offensively. I think he even was the second leading scorer in one of those games. Having almost a 20-point game night, knowing that's not his strength, is putting the ball in the rim. You brought him in to be that defensive pest, in which he did that. And just what he did on the defensive job that he did on Jamal Murray. Russell Westbrook, even Nikola Jokic going down in a couple games, especially in this Game 7 tonight. Putting it all on the line, leaving it all on the floor. Trying to front Jokic, making it hard on him, and he was guarding Jokic from the 3-point line all the way on, holding his own. So you got to give a huge shout out to Caruso, and I think Caruso was a main catalyst and a main factor of why the OKC Thunder is advancing to the Western Conference Finals. Now, It took a whole collective team effort. But like I said, the OKC Thunder defense is ultimately what prevailed them and ultimately got them in this position of where they at. And they hang their hats on that, because once they turn it up and they got in and they kicked into that gear defensively, the Denver Nuggets, they didn't really have no answer. Now, from the Denver Nuggets standpoint, to really say that, obviously Aaron Gordon, you got to give a huge props to Aaron Gordon. He was out there on one leg, a grade 2 hamstring strain, and he still went out there and gave it a go, put his body on the line and sacrificed himself for his team. You know, that's a true competitor right there, a true warrior. I never gonna have nothing bad to say about Aaron Gordon. You know, I got these lists of my, you know how they do like all NBA first team, my NBA second team. I got an all playoff first team, second team, and third team list coming out shortly after these playoffs is done, because I want to see what everybody else do for the rest of the year. But Aaron Gordon is gonna find himself somewhere on this list, and I'm gonna say Aaron Gordon gonna be somewhere on the first team, because I'm not gonna lie. Without Aaron Gordon, the Denver Nuggets wouldn't even made it past the first round, made it past the Los Angeles Clippers. You know, he's been a consistent contributor for the Denver Nuggets. You know, he had 3 game winners for the Denver Nuggets in his playoff run alone. You know, knocking down the shot. You seen he worked on the 3-point shot. His 3-point shot was consistent. He showed that he was much improved from that area. You know, we know what he brings on the offensive side of the ball with his versatility, being in that dunker spot, being able to rebound at a high level, being that type of connector, get to the rim, put pressure on the rim, get to the free throw line, and do all these different things. You know, relieve stress off Jamal Murray, giving him another ball handler. You know, being that Swiss Army knife for the Denver Nuggets. You know, Aaron Gordon, he took his game definitely to another level in these playoffs, and I really don't got nothing bad to say about, you know, Aaron Gordon. Because like I said, for somebody to have a grade 2 strain, when we look at the Currys who had a hamstring strain, we look at the OG Anunoby. Last year in the playoffs, he had a hamstring strain. He tried to you know, play through it. He went up the court one time and he called it quits. Steph Curry, he had a grade 1 and he never even played the rest of the series after game 1 with a grade 1 strain. And Aaron Gordon had a grade 2, and in the game 7, he knew his team needed him to go to be able to get him the best possible chance to come out. And ultimately, they didn't get the result that they wanted. But him to even just go out there and suit up and to get him and to give out to what he gave today on the one leg, even though he gave him 8 points, he still gave him 11 rebounds. He was 2 for 4, 1 from 3 from the field, but you got from the 3-point line. But you got to think, you seen it from the very start that Aaron Gordon did not have no lift in his legs. You know, you seen he couldn't sprint all the way. He was out there giving all he got with 8 points and 11 rebounds. Man, that's enough. That's a huge salute to you. Now, Christian Braun is another player that I want to give huge props and shout out to. Mike can make this he may make an appearance on this All NBA playoff list of mine. You know, because with him too. You know, especially in this series with him taking the main role of trying to defend Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and slowing him down and be able to come back there on the offensive end. Giving out the type of production and output that he gave out, especially these last 2 games, giving him 19 tonight, gave him 23 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists in game 6. You know, gave him another 20-point outing in another one of these games. You know, Christian Braun, he did it all. He showed you the growth, and he showed you he can be a good, reliable, vital piece to the Denver Nuggets team moving forward. So shout out to Christian Braun. But Jamal Murray, to me, this series in this game 7 came down to that the OKC that did too much, and they leaned on their defensive identity and leaned on the Denver Nuggets, and just showed that the Denver Nuggets didn't have enough depth. Because you look at the Russell Westbrook and how I raved at Russell Westbrook in that first round against the Clippers, he was not that same Westbrook in this OKC series. And I know we got to give that's a testament to OKC Thunder defense, but still, Russ was not the same. He wasn't giving it the same production. He wasn't giving you the same. It just seemed like his effort, his energy was night and day from the first round to this second round. And that's really what this series came down to. You know, the OKC Thunder, they took Denver to the deep water, see if they can be able to swim and survive the deep waters. And obviously they end up drowning. You know, the bench production wasn't giving them nothing. But ultimately, you know, OKC, that was the better team. You know, Michael Porter Jr. got to look himself in the mirror, even though he had an injury. You know, the Denver Nuggets were banged up. They walked into it's a good saying. You limp into the playoffs, you're going to limp out of the playoffs. And you limp into the season, you're going to limp out the season. So that's unfortunately, that was the cards that was dealt for the Denver Nuggets. You know, obviously they felt like if they was healthy, things could have went different. You never know what Michael Porter Jr. would have been able to do. Aaron Gordon, if he didn't have a hamstring injury in game 6, We never knew the type of production activity level that he would have been on in his Game 7 with everything being on the line, all the marbles on the table. But Jamal Murray is you know, when a Game 7 like this and you got a playoff Nick for showing up in big time games today, I was looking for a little bit more and expecting a little bit more from you, especially, you know, when you look at the first half, Aaron Gordon had more points than he did at halftime. You know, that's unacceptable, especially with somebody out there on one leg. Jamal Murray, we count on you, relying on you, but like I said, you just got to tip your hat to the OKC Thunder defense, man. They just look like they were just a more aggressive team. Obviously, they're the more faster team, they're the more younger team, more athletic team, and that showed tonight showed tonight in the Game 7. That's how they ultimately came up with this win. You know, congratulations with them. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because in this next video I'm giving out my reviews and my thoughts on these Western Conference Finals predictions between OKC Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and watch that next video, and I'm gonna see y'all next time.